they were not administered before the 13th April expiry date on the packaging. Meanwhile, South Sudan has set aside 59,000 doses supplied by the African Union owing to expiry dates concerns. This as the European Union launched legal action against the British-Swedish drug company AstraZeneca after it repeatedly under-delivered on its shipments of COVID-19 vaccines to the bloc. 27 nations in the European Union have rolled out a relatively slow vaccination program after deliveries fell short of delivery targets. The EU has ordered 300 million initial doses of the vaccine from the company with an optional extra 100 million. AstraZeneca says it would strongly defend itself in court and regrets the European Commission's decision to take legal action. A section of religious leaders now wants the government to urgently solve the diplomatic matter between Kenya and USAID, which has halted the supply of antiretroviral drugs to patients. The clergy saying the ongoing distribution stalemate was only putting the lives of vulnerable Kenyans on the line. Kenya is experiencing an acute shortage of antiretroviral drugs, ARV, which has hit public hospitals, greatly affecting people living with HIV/AIDS.
Religious leaders are asking the government to reassure Kenyans living with HIV and AIDS of a constant supply of antiretroviral drugs following reports of acute shortage of the medication.
Tumesikia kwamba kaunti zingine kama 31 zimeweza kupewa dawa. Tunajua wakati huu wengi wamefinyika, hawana madawa, hawana chakula, ili hali wamekumbwa na janga ingine kali zaidi ya corona. Kwa hivyo basi tunaomba serikali vile vile iweze kutafuta suluhisho ya kinyumbani ya kuweza kusaidia watu hawa.
The leaders challenging the government to reduce over-reliance on donor support, especially for crucial medicines.
Tukiendelea kutegemea wafadhili kutoka ng'ambo, tutahatarisha kupoteza maisha ya watu wetu wengi ambao wamekumbwa na janga hili.
The clergy who spoke at Kangeta, Igembe, Central Meru County during the ordination of new pastors urged the government to consider setting aside more resources to purchase crucial drugs.
Watu saa hii wale wanatumia hizi dawa za ARVs, wengine kwa sababu tuko na wao hata huku mijijini, tuko na wao kwa villages, wanaumia kwa sababu hizi dawa ukikosa wanagonjeka, kwa hivyo wako na shinda. Kwa hivyo hiyo serikali iendelee kuona vile wanaweza fanya hii dawa iweze kuwafikia watu, ndio watu wetu wakae na wakiwa salama.
Persons living with HIV are having to endure reduced doses, with children and unborn babies particularly poised to suffer the most from a 90 million shillings tax standoff between Kenya and a US importer of ARVs, USAID. The shortage comes just months after the World Health Organization, WHO, said nearly 70 countries were at risk of running out of HIV and AIDS drugs due to the COVID-19 pandemic that has interrupted supplies. Purity Museo, Channel 1 News.
Federation of Women Lawyers Kenya, FIDA, has raised concerns over the increase of gender-based violence cases attributed to COVID-19 pandemic. Senior Legal Officer FIDA Mombasa Branch, Ilham Hisham, noted that the economic ravages brought about by COVID-19 pandemic has immensely contributed to family strife.
Speaking in Mombasa during the launch of a week-long GBV sensitization to boda operators, Hisham said the drive was aimed at enlightening the public on their rights and the process of preparing evidence for the victims before a court of law for prosecution.
Tuko na training ya healthcare workers, tumefanya moja na ingine itafanywa kesho na kesho kutwa, na pia tuna train healthcare workers jinsi ya kuweka ile evidence, ile ushahidi, how to store the evidence na vipi kujaza P3 form na jinsi ya kujieleza kotini katika kiwango tunaita self representation. Tunawaelezea ni vipi wanaweza kujielezea kotini ili zile kesi za GBV zikienda kule ziwe na nguvu.
Hisham, a senior legal officer FIDA Mombasa branch, said the decision to partner with boda riders was informed by the fact that they interact with most members of the public. Chairman Boda Boda Riders Mombasa County, Halfan Musahu, lauded FIDA for the initiative as it will go a long way in handling GBV cases, of which most end up unreported.
Katika zile objectives zetu ni 5 ambao health ndio ya kwanza, health awareness, security awareness, peace awareness, pamoja na youth empowerment, safety awareness.
According to Selina Gidhinji, a gender-based violence and adolescent health officer in Mombasa County, most victims of GBV are women and underage children.
Wanaodhulumiwa sana ni watoto wadogo, kuanzia hata miezi 3, miezi 2 wanadhulumiwa sana, na tukiangazia kwa mwezi moja kliniki zetu ama sanati zetu zenye zinahudumia mambo na dhuluma za kijinsia wana ripoti kadri ya watu wadhulumiwa 300, na ile kitu inaendelea ni kuwa watu wengi wanadhulumiwa nje, lakini kufika hospitalini ili tuweze kujua haswa idadi ya watu ambao wanadhulumiwa wote, hiyo ndio imekuwa changamoto.
The activity, which included a blood donation drive, brought together different stakeholders, including Kenya Red Cross, Boda Boda Riders, Mombasa County Health Department, and USAID, among other stakeholders.
FIDA has urged the public to be on the forefront in reporting gender-based violence cases for justice to be served. Reporting for Channel 1 News from Mombasa County, I'm Michael Mondiga.
Glad you are watching Channel 1 News Hour. Joseph Buterire, you are watching from Kampala. Timothy Muyeko, you are watching from Kakamega. Jared Kagaka, you are watching from Kisii. Channel 1 News Hour takes a short break. We'll be back with more. Stay with us.
Je, umeomoka? Kama hujaomoka kwenye Quickbin ndio mambo yote. Hata tuko na fridge, kodi yake ni CM. Tuko na gas cooker, kodi yake ni CA. Tuko na TV, kodi yake ni TV. Tuko na simu aina ya Samsung ni SM, ama Oppo ni Oppo. My friend, mahali popote unanitazama, eka hizo kodi zake kisha utume kwa 4032353. 4032353. Alafu utakuwa unaomoka na hizi bidhaa. Kumbuka kwenye Quickbin ni la bora zaidi kwa bei ya chini kwa chini.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
This is a truly multifaceted band whose members are not only adept at composing songs, playing a variety of instruments, and blending their voices into a harmonious sound, but are also talented dancers and choreographers.
Why do you hate music, or why do you hate artists? Why you don't support artists? Artists, they give you everything you want.
People have been talking about, which of the 2 songs that Awilo has done, that is Diamond Platinum's and this particular one.
This is
which one is the, you feel this one today? Young woman make nice.
Welcome back. An aspirant for the Juja parliamentary by-election was arraigned in the Kiambu court on charges of forging academic documents. Appearing in a virtual court session before Kiambu Chief Magistrates Patricia Gichohi, George Ndungu Koimbori denied 3 counts of forgery and was granted a 100,000 shillings cash bail.
Our client was not served in the summons.
Appearing in a virtual court session before Kiambu Chief Magistrate Patricia Gishohi, George Ndungu Koimburi, an aspirant in the Juja parliamentary by-election, was accused of forging academic documents. The charge sheet states in November 1994, he obtained a fake Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education certificate, purporting it to have been issued by the Kenya National Examination Council. A second count read that in October 2011, at Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, JKUAT, he forged a certificate of participation purporting it to have been issued by the university, while a third count stated that between 2011 and 2012, he forged a certificate of academic excellence purporting to have been issued by JKUAT. He denied 3 counts of forgery and was granted a 100,000 shillings cash bail. Koimburi was represented by advocates Cliff Ombeta, Irungu Kangata, and Geoffrey Omeke.
This case is clearly political. We shall fight, and the people of Juja should not be intimidated. Koimburi will be on the ballot.
The Juja by-election is slated to take place on May 18th, 2021.
We demand to have full observers from all missions. We'll be writing to the American Embassy. We'll be writing to the European Union. We'll be writing to Embassy of or the High Commission of the Great Britain to request that they assist us with observers who are going to come and observe all the processes that relate to this election.
Elsewhere, 2 Mombasa businessmen on Monday arraigned in a Mombasa court on allegations of forging documents and defrauding the family of their deceased business partner of his billion shillings estate. The accused person, Paresh Shivuji Shivjibahi Jadva Varsani, denied 11 counts of fraud. It is alleged that the accused persons have continued to jointly meddle in the affairs of the estate of the deceased. They were each released on a 200,000 shillings bond and a surety of a similar amount. The case will be heard on May 10th, 2021.
The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has rolled out a mass voter registration exercise in Migori County. The move comes as the Muslim community in the region alleged discrimination in issuance of identity cards.
The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission is conducting mass voter registration in Migori County, targeting the youth and the elderly. The Muslim community is among a section of residents lamenting discrimination, saying majority have been denied national identity cards.
Tuna uchungu, jina yetu ni Al-Shabaab. Kwa hii Migori sisi tunaitwa Al-Shabaab. Uchungu ya pili ni kunyimwa ID. Tutatafutia watoto wetu ID wapi? Mimi sijui kwetu. Kwetu ni Mandera. Mimi sijui kwetu. Mimi nilizaliwa hapa. Mimi naongea Kijaluo, lugha yangu hata sijui. Kwa nini watoto wetu wakatazwe ID?
They may need, for example, to do what some of our children, even in Nairobi, have had to do. Most of the time, they have to come back to Migori County to get their ID cards from there. Or they have to face a vetting committee there in Nairobi or wherever else they are to be proven that they are Kenyans.
Elsewhere, the National Hospital Insurance Fund has rolled out electronic registration across Western and Nyanza region.
All healthcare providers that have been declared under NHIF in the Western region have been made digitally ready for biometric registration and the e-claim.
And over 300 vulnerable families from informal settlements in Nanyuki have benefited from foodstuffs from well-wishers in the hospitality industry. In the same spirit, the Turkish government through Turkish Cooperation and Coordination Agency TICA donated food hampers to 400 residents in Biafra Estate in Nairobi. TICA director said this is an ongoing project to help underprivileged Muslim households, especially at this month of Ramadan.
Throughout this Ramadan program, in 87 countries all around the world, TICA will reach thousands of hundreds of people, inshallah.
Elsewhere, a mother of 5 in Kisii County is appealing for financial and material support from well-wishers to help her 4-year-old quadruplets enroll school this July.
Imekuwa kibarua kigumu kuwalea mpaka nimewafikisha hivi. Sasa imefika umri wa kwenda shule. Nimejaribu kusave pesa zenye ninapata kidogo, lakini asitatosa kununua uniform, viatu, vitabu. Sasa imekuwa ni kibarua kigumu kuwachukua shule kusi au watoto 4 kuwachukua shule once. Inakuwa ni kibarua kigumu.
Finally, a Nakuru County enforcement officer and a cab driver narrowly escaped death after a cab they were enrolled over near section 58 Nakuru Nyahururu interchange along Nakuru Nairobi highway.
Kajaribu kunisukuma pale kwa matatu, nikajaribu kungengana na steering, saa hizo najaribu kumtoa mkono kwa mguu yake kwa kuniwekea. Sasa bahati mbaya akawekelea kwa mguu yangu, sasa mimi kwa accelerator sasa akanikanyanga.
Ruth Wamboi for Channel 1 News.
Across the borders, forces loyal to the opposition in Somalia are occupying key parts of the capital, Mogadishu, following Sunday's eruption of fighting with soldiers supporting President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo. Elsewhere, the Indonesian military has released the video showing the crew of the sunken KRI Nanggala 402 submarine singing together a few weeks before the vessel went down with all hands lost. These and more details making headlines in the Global News Roundup.
The Somali capital Mogadishu was calm on Monday after heavy fighting between pro-opposition armed loyalists and the government security forces. However, forces loyal to the opposition are said to have occupied key parts of the capital. This includes a junction about half a kilometer from the presidential palace. Civilians have been fleeing the areas affected by the violence. Some schools and universities have been shut. Clan elders are trying to negotiate a peaceful settlement between powerful opposition leaders and Farmajo, whose mandate has been extended by 2 years despite expiring in February. Elsewhere, the Indonesian military has released a video showing the crew of the sunken KRI Nanggala 402 submarine singing together a few weeks before the vessel went down with all hands lost. In the video, the 53-strong crew are singing Sampai Jumpa, an Indonesian hit whose title means goodbye. Officials confirmed on Sunday that the submarine, which sank off the coast of Bali on Wednesday, had been found split into 3 pieces on the seabed. And an Italian man is to leave the island he has lived on for more than 30 years after pressure from authorities. Mauro Morandi, aged 81, moved to Budeli in 1989. Last year, however, Morandi said the owners of the island, which is famed for its pink beach, wanted him to relocate.
Glad you're watching Channel 1 News Hour. We are taking a short break, but when we'll be back, we'll be telling you what you need to know in the world of business as well as in the world of sports. Stay with us.
Siri za maisha. Siri ya kwanza ya maisha ni kujifunza kusamehe. Ya pili ni kujituma. Ya tatu ni kujifunza. Ya 4 kukubali mabadiliko. Ya 5 kuweka akiba. 6 kutokufa moyo. Na 7 kumtendea mwenzako jinsi ungependa akutendee wewe.
Ili kupata skiza tune ya siri za maisha, bonyeza *811 *397 hash. Bonyeza *811 *397 hash.
On the next episode of Ashoka.
Stop! This is against the rules of the war. This is against the ethics.
Ashok is right. We have already surrendered.
Do you even remember what you used to be? Because the person standing in front of me today is not known to me.
You shouldn't expose yourself to smoke and flames in this condition. NAG will rescue Ashok, do not worry.
Hey, Prince Asheen! Hey! Hey, Prince Asheen! Hey!
Oh my Smurf.
Oh, look, a transport device. Come on.
This way.
All together now.
My head.
Let me get this straight. You're being chased by an evil wizard.
Smurf, exactly. Stop saying Smurf for everything.
Smurfity Smurf, Smurf, Smurf. There's no call for that kind of language, laddie.
Come back here with my Smurf! Come on, Smurf!
Where's Papa?
Dragonite Tucker!
No Smurf left behind.
You slept with the wrong girl.
Smurf,
playtime is over.
Welcome to Channel 1 Business News. President Uhuru Kenyatta has underscored the importance of public-private partnerships in growing and strengthening the country's manufacturing sector. Speaking after opening a nanotechnology and semiconductor manufacturing facility at Dedan Kimathi University of Technology in Nyeri County, President Uhuru Kenyatta said the venture is part of the government's investment in the manufacturing sector that will also include a shipbuilding enterprise in Mombasa to be commissioned soon.
Kenya has officially opened the nanotechnology and semiconductor manufacturing facility at the Dedan Kimathi University of Technology in Nyeri County. The facility, which is first of its kind in Africa, will produce integrated circuits, sensors and nanotechnology products for the export market. President Uhuru Kenyatta said the facility, which was constructed under public-private partnership arrangement, highlights Kenya's quest to be a global exporter of technological products and ideas, creating employment opportunities for Kenyans.
Our ability to be able to become an industrialized nation, to be able to create good quality, well-paying jobs for our young people, and to be able to turn Kenya from a country that consumes products from other parts of the world to a country that exports not only her products, but her technology.
Things don't run themselves. It is you who make those machines run. And I have never been so proud of any team that I've ever had, and I've had many all over the world. And I can tell you, Your Excellency, that this is the top cream.
As part of the government's efforts to grow the manufacturing sector, a shipbuilding facility is expected to be opened in Mombasa County soon.
We will soon be in Mombasa and Kisumu launching shipbuilding in our country.
There are plans for revival of car manufacturing plants as key drivers of the Kenyan manufacturing sector.
We are getting back to the place where we want to now be making our own locomotives, as was there earlier on, to be able to turn our country into a producing country and not a consuming country.
This and expansion of key infrastructure is expected to drive the country's economy. The nanotechnology and semiconductor manufacturing facility is a joint venture between Semiconductor Technologies Limited and the Dedan Kimathi University of Technology. Benson Dioba reporting for Channel 1 Business.
In other news, Kenya expects 2,000 tourists by August this year from the Eastern Europe bloc following the return of charter flights to the Kenyan coast. With the latest chartered flight from Ukraine landing at the Moi International Airport, Mombasa, Monday, bringing in 180 tourists, the tourism industry is confident that arrivals will increase despite the COVID-19 pandemic.
The World Tourism Organization, UNWTO, indicates that before COVID-19, total European outbound tourism via air, land and sea to developing country destinations accounted for around 70.5 million trips. However, COVID-19 travel restrictions have halted travel, with fewer people traveling.
The Kenya has very good, attractive product. The food is amazing. No rain.
The return of chartered flights to the Moi International Airport, Mombasa, has given the tourism industry the hope that arrivals could surpass expectations that had factored in travel restrictions as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic.
I must say that this initiative will not only benefit the tourism industry in Mombasa, but the entire coastal ecosystem, as some of the visitors coming in will actually go to the neighboring counties of Lamu.
Thank the county government of Mombasa for coming up with this initiative and having an MOU with the Ukraine.
2 chartered flights from Ukraine are expected to land in Mombasa monthly until August this year, after the county government of Mombasa inked an agreement with the European country.
Kila baada ya siku 10
tutakuwa tunapata takriban wageni 200 kutoka Ukraine, na ikifika mwezi wa Septemba mwaka huu.
The flight operated by Breeze Airline, a Ukrainian charter operator, landed in Kenya carrying 180 tourists who will spend 10 days visiting various tourist sites in the country. Ukraine remains among the potential tourist markets, with about 3 million Ukrainians traveling annually. Regina Manyara reporting for Channel 1 Business.
Equipment is being installed at Lamu Port ahead of operationalization of the new facility in June this year. The first key batch being moved from the port of Mombasa will arrive in Lamu Tuesday. The first batch consists 4 terminal tractors, 8 skeletal trailers, 2 forklifts, 2 low-bed trailers, and assorted lifting equipment.
Once operational, the Lamu port is to specialize in handling containers and oil cargo between the Eastern African hinterland, making Kenya a gateway of choice, especially for Ethiopia, South Sudan and Somalia.
These equipments are being shipped here. It will not affect the work of Mombasa. This is just part and parcel of the equipment program. More so, later on, Kenya Post Authority has invested and will invest in acquiring more equipment for Lamu Port.
Ahead of its scheduled operationalization in June, key port equipment is being moved from Mombasa to Lamu in 2 shipments. On the first shipment is 4 terminal tractors, 8 skeletal trailers, 2 forklifts, 2 low-bed trailers, 4 lateral mark buoys, and assorted lifting equipment. According to the Kenya Ports Authority, this is the initial phase of moving equipment that is critical in cargo handling at Lamu Port.
Offloading in Lamu will start on Tuesday. And then the second batch, which will carry RTG, KRS scanner, and Harbour Mobile Crane, will leave on May 5th.
The second shipment will include bigger cranes used in loading and offloading cargo from ships, as well as the Kenya Revenue Authority scanner, 2 mobile cranes and other equipment needed at the facility.
More or less new equipment. They have not been used for long, and their productivity is still high.
The government has spent about 40 billion shillings in building the first 3 berths at the Lamu Port, each berth measuring 400 meters and can accommodate the longest ship in the world. Regina Manyara reporting for Channel 1 Business.
Kenya has managed to contain the second wave of desert locust invasion in the country. The Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, says the swarms are now only in Barsaloi, Samburu County, and they are working on eradicating the desert locusts in the area.
The second wave of desert locust invasion that started in early December last year affected 21 counties. The swarms of locusts were mainly spotted in northern parts of the country earlier on before spreading to the Rift Valley, central Kenya and coastal counties. This prompted the government to delegate the efforts to control desert locusts to the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, for a centralized operation. To this end, FAO says the swarms have been eradicated in most parts of the country and only a handful of swarms can be spotted in Barsaloi, Samburu County. However, FAO says efforts to contain the remaining swarms are underway. This as FAO, in its latest global desert locust forecast, expressed fears that the widespread rains in recent weeks have helped some swarms in Ethiopia and Kenya to mature. Consequently, egg-laying, hatching and band formation are expected in May, but at a much smaller scale than was the case last year. FAO says desert locust control operations in the 2 countries will continue despite recent success. FAO expects hatching of locusts to occur in about 2 weeks and small hopper groups and bands could form. FAO has instructed its control teams to wait for at least a week to ensure that all hatching is finished before treating in order to avoid spraying the same area more than once. During the first desert locust invasion, a report commissioned by FAO showed that the pest destroyed 7% of crops that would have been harvested and another 9% of pasture. FAO says compensation efforts to sustain livelihoods of the affected by the first and second waves of desert locusts are ongoing.
Chinese authorities have rolled out guidelines to regulate the country's booming live streaming marketing industry and set standards for live streaming e-commerce platforms, operators and hosts. The new measures have jointly been issued by the Cyberspace Administration of China and 6 other government entities. Here now are the details of this and other stories making headlines across the globe.
New regulation for China booming live streaming marketing industry aim to protect the rights and interests of consumer and tackle problems including false advertising and goods of poor quality. The new regulation have banned fake claims in adverts and data fraud, such as bogus comments, likes, views and sell figure. Live streaming platforms are required to handle complaints from consumer in a timely manner and provide evidence when disputes occur. China has been the world's largest online retail market for 8 consecutive years. There are more than 24 million live streaming marketing activities in China last year. Meanwhile, most Asian markets rose Monday following a strong end to last week on Wall Street as traders turned their attention to the Federal Reserve latest policy meeting and earnings from corporate giants. A strong reading in US and European manufacturing and service activity provided a positive catalyst for investors who appear to have got over US President Joe Biden's plan to almost double capital gain taxes, while the decision by the US to reapprove Johnson & Johnson vaccine also lifted optimism. However, President Biden's $2.25 trillion infrastructure plan could take longer to get through. Asian traders were in an upbeat mood in early business with Tokyo, Hong Kong, Shanghai, Seoul, Singapore, Taipei and Manila all up, though there were slight losses in Sydney, Jakarta and Bangkok. Finally, a new feature is being introduced to iPhones and iPads this week, which is causing a huge rift between Apple and Facebook. It will allow device users to say no to having their data collected by any app. Facebook has been put in a spin by this because user data and the advertising it can generate is what makes the company so profitable. The new update by Apple could deal a severe blow to business model. Facebook has warned that the app update could cut the money earned through its ad network by half, hitting small businesses the hardest, and it argues that Apple is being hypocritical because it will force businesses to turn to subscription and other in-app payments for revenue, from which Apple takes a cut. Terry Njenga, Channel 1 Business.
Time for Channel 1 Sports News. Sports Cabinet Secretary Ambassador Amina Mohamed has said that the government is determined to bring to book all persons involved in tarnishing the name of Kenyan athletes. This comes after a German, Christian Road, alleged to receive information that Kenya was engaged in systematic cover-up of doping cases among Kenyan athletes. Amina said that those accusations were baseless, careless and reckless, aiming to destroy the credibility of Kenya's sportsmen and women. Amina noted that it had become a trend that Kenya has always been attacked whenever it is about to take part in major international competitions, tracing same accusations back to the eve of the 2012 London Olympics, the 2016 Rio Olympics, the 2017 IAAF World Championships, the 2019 World Athletics Championships, and now the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. She has, however, assured that Kenya is a doping-free nation. It will not be shaken and will be fully represented at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. International Volleyball Federation Coach Vladimir Gerber has exuded confidence that national women's volleyball team Malkia Strikers will show a splendid performance in this year's Tokyo Olympic Games. The team intensified training today at Kasarani Indoor Arena under the leadership of head coach Paul Bitok.
After last featuring in the Olympic Games in 2004, Malkia Strikers will be making a return to the Games with hopes of clinching a medal. The team, led by experienced coach Paul Bitok, stepped up its preparations ahead of the August Games. International Volleyball Federation FIVB coach Vladimir Gerber has expressed optimism with the Kenyan team.
Volleyball is a sport like that. You never know. Ball is round, so we are hoping that they will make us all proud.
You can see the preparation, and with all this kind of sponsorship, Kenya will receive the best results this year. We hope to win 1 or 2 matches, and if possible to qualify for the semi-final. We want to surprise the world that Kenya can do it and Africa can do it.
16 Kenyan players and coaches will travel to Brazil for a 45-day training camp and competition. The team has had a team of Brazilian coaches seconded to them by the FIVB in collaboration with the Kenya Volleyball Federation and National Olympic Committee of Kenya. The Brazilians are Luzoma de Moura, assistant coach Jefferson Arosti, strength and conditioning trainer Marcelo Vitorino de Souza, and Roberto Opis Neto. Frederick Moki for Channel 1 Sports.
Makre Kimathi posted his best possible time to finish 8th in the just concluded ARC Equity Rally, which saw more than 5 drivers fail to complete day 1 of the events held over the weekend in Naivasha. Kalflash Tundo navigated his longtime partner, Team Jesop, secured his maiden Equity Rally title in a Minty Motorsport Volkswagen Polo R5.
Makre Kimathi finished 8th in this year's ARC Equator Rally over the weekend. Kimathi, who was being navigated by Shamia Yusuf, stopped the timer at 3 hours, 13 minutes, 15.2 seconds. Kimathi, a second-generation driver, was more excited to finish ahead of 3-time Safari Rally champion Baldev Chaga. The young upcoming driver in the Kenya National Rally Championship finished 22nd during the 2019 Safari Rally candidate event and 5th in the KCB Meru Rally circuit. Also in the run was Eric Bengi, who rejoined the rally after failing to finish the first leg on Saturday. Bengi, who was being navigated by Peter Muchuma, was forced to settle for 15th position, but was happy that his car was in a good condition. Issa Amwari was among drivers who were forced to bow out of the rally after hitting a stone at the Soisambu stage during the first loop of the rally.
Every crew comes to do the Equator Rally is favorite, because as an organizer, my work is to make sure that I run a good event and make sure that everybody who enters the event enjoys the event.
Carl Flash Tundo navigated by his longtime partner Team Jesop in a Minty Motorsport Volkswagen Polo R5 won his maiden Equator Rally title. Tundo, who led from day 1, won the Malewa and Loldia stages on his final day to finish with a cumulative total of 2 hours, 34 minutes, 08.8 seconds, 12 minutes ahead of Tajvir Rai, who was navigated by Gareth Dave of Cabras Motorsport in a Volkswagen Polo to his first podium finish.
This rally is a gravel rally, and it is run in conservancies or private land or closed roads, where we also have wildlife, and it is a very, very challenging course because the weather keeps changing drastically, and suddenly you could have wet in an hour, and in 2 hours you have dry weather.
Onka Rai, Jasmine Chana, Baldev Chaga, Eric Bengi and Hamza Anwar completed the top 10 finish despite some of them having to restart the rally under the Super Rally rule after encountering problems on day 1. The Equator Rally was used by the drivers to prepare for the WRC Safari Rally to be held in June and televised live on KBC Channel 1.